Hi, I'm Mark Poulton. I'm a buy and hold real estate investor in the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. On my way to my very first rental right now on a nice sunny, rainy day in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been thinking a lot since this morning. Been having trouble sleeping, so thinking about consistency and the consequences or the value in consistent action. Most people have a routine, and it's very difficult for them to change that routine. A lot of people are actually scared of change, period. And so most lives are, especially if you're married and have kids, are actually very much structured. Kids have a place to go, you have to be at work, you have to get home from work, eat, sleep, sports. As far as my life is concerned, every other week is extremely structured. Both my wife and I have all the kids, and then we will basically go a week without the kids, and it's a lot less structured, but it still have consistent action. And what I'm finding is when I look at other people's lives, I'm a big fan of analyzing. I like to look at other people and kind of figure out what their thought processes are, what they do, and are they successful at it, and what does their future hold. And nobody can actually tell the future, but you can predict pretty well, what is more or less likely to happen with somebody. And typically what's more or less likely to happen to somebody is the same thing they're doing today. I consistently work on my business every day. It doesn't mean I'm going out to a home to rehab it, though I consistently do that, whether I have the kids or not. I consistently do that, but I may not be able to spend as much time doing it. And the value in doing that is it's kind of like bodybuilding or dieting or something like that. You don't go to the gym and that day, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger size. It's a very much a baby step process. You're talking, sub-millimeter gains. It could be, 1/25th of a millimeter every time you go in. But you go in 25 times, it's a millimeter. You go in 100 times, it's 4 millimeters. After 3 or 4 years, the consistency of action of doing something, starts to show. It starts to get big. You stop eating the junk food and start eating salads. You don't instantly become skinny. It's consistency of doing that. Maybe you're dropping 1/4 pound a day. Maybe it's 1/10 of a pound. After a few months, you start to notice something. Well, it's the same thing, at least in the way I structure my business. We buy the crappiest of crappy homes, but there's tons of potential and a huge amount of value. But you got to get it from, its beginning state to its end state. And that's done through consistency. And you have a couple ways you can do it. Some people choose to hire a contractor to come in. I choose to do a lot of the work myself. And I find great value in it. Probably losing out on some money. That's okay. But it gets done. It gets done right. Now that I've learned the hard lesson of not cutting corners. And the great thing about that is it's very, if you hire a contractor, more than likely you're going to have your vision up front. The house we're rehabbing now, we were going to rent out for $1,500 or $1,600 a month, but now we're going to, my wife is going to Airbnb it. Well, it's a little bit different finish for an Airbnb than it is for a rental. So I'm having to come back and I'm having to do things that I wasn't planning on doing, at least this time around. Probably would have done them when we recycled a tenant. I'll give you some examples. Railing. I'm putting railing up. All the railing had rotted off the front porch, and I really wasn't going to do it. But now we introduced black to the color scheme. I'm going to have my wife paint that black with white uprights, and it's really going to pop the porch. And that took me about a day. Probably spent $60 on materials, dumpster dove a lot of other ones. The wife is going to have to come in and spend some time. Maybe it's another $35 in paint. I don't know. But because of that, now I have to fix the neighbor's fence. It's literally falling over into my yard. They're 4x4 uprights. It's a rental home. The current renters aren't going to do anything, and it looks bad. Probably if I was just going to rent it out, would not have worried about it. Now, I need to get that fixed. I need it to look okay, and then I'm going to stain it black on my side, and a little bit more of the neighbor behind the house. I actually dropped a tree onto their fence, and I actually have to repair that damage, and then I'm going to stain my side of it black. I'm going to put up another couple panels on the side of the house, staggered. It's going to look like one consistent fence from the front of the house, but what it's going to do is it's going to allow an easy path into the backyard, at least on that side, and it's going to be a place to store the garbage cans. And we've been considering a storage area. If you look at my garage, that in my personal residence, it's full of hot water heaters, appliances, air conditioning systems, floorings, vanities, and wire shelving, just tons of stuff. And we really want some place to store that, and my wife came up with a great idea, which is, this particular home has a 2-car garage, pretty secure. Why don't we move the stuff in there and then just not give the Airbnb residents access to the garage? There's plenty of parking both off-street and on-street. So it took me a little while, but I'm on board with that. That's actually a good idea. We're going to move a lot of our storage. It's inconveniently located. However, I'd like to be able to park in my garage again. And, I could probably get it better organized. And let's face it, I don't often need a lot of stuff from there. When I do need it, I usually have an idea of what I need. And that's fine. Probably going to have to go there and cut the grass anyways, at least initially, until we kind of figure out how this is going to work. So I'll be in the area, and we have another rehab in the area as well. So it's not totally inconvenient. But my point being is consistently being there, consistently looking at the business, consistently looking at and trying to find ways to refine the product, because the house is a product. I think we're going to come up with something pretty cool. It's going to be different, but the ideas are going to be a higher quality finish, but it's ideas that we're going to be able to take to other, to our rentals, and all it's going to do is improve property value. It's going to improve curb appeal, which in turn is going to probably give you a little bit higher rent rate. I mean, it's not going to be significantly higher, but and hopefully get you a better quality tenant, because you're providing a house that looks good, right? I've provided some pretty bad looking homes. Anyways, this is my somewhat sporadic thoughts on being consistent and the value of consistency. This isn't like total home makeover where in 3 days you have a brand new house and they're having to use forced air heaters to get the drywall to dry. That's not the business model I am in. And seeing as I don't have an unlimited supply of wisdom, I learned every time we rehab a home, or in this case re-rehab a home, I learn more. But once you learn a lesson, well, hopefully you don't have to relearn it. You just stick it into your wisdom pouch and you use it the next time. Anyways, my comments. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comment section below. Hope you go out there and live the You Won't Stop Me lifestyle. It's about 3 different things: wisdom, experience, and knowledge. Once you have a sufficient amount of all 3 of those, it doesn't matter what happens in your life. It really doesn't matter what happens in the economy. It doesn't matter if you go through a divorce and the lawyers and your ex-wife takes it all. You're going to be able to get it all back and then some, even in an up or down economy. Anyways, I wish you success.